Everyone thinks the hardest part of losing someone is the day they disappear. But the truth is, the real nightmare begins 10 years later, when you are forced to go back to the exact room where they vanished. Tonight, we're diving into one of the darkest, hidden chapters of the Fazbear legacy, where a group of friends broke into an abandoned, sealed-off family pizzeria. Our story starts with a girl named Charlie. For 10 years, she's been haunted by a single, recurring nightmare. She's trapped in a dark, claustrophobic hallway, listening to heavy, metallic footsteps echoing behind her. "I have to get out," she whispers to herself, her chest heaving. "He sees me." In her nightmare, the shadows peel back to reveal a massive, towering animatronic figure with cold, lifeless eyes staring directly into her soul. Charlie wakes up, but the reality she's driving into isn't much better. She's returning to her hometown of Hurricane, Utah, for the first time in a decade. She's there for a memorial scholarship dedicated to Michael, a little boy, her childhood friend, who vanished without a trace when they were just kids. His body was never found. She meets up with her old friends, John, Carlton, and Jessica, at a brightly lit local diner. At first, it's just awkward small talk. They try to discuss normal things, like living in New York or writing short stories. But you can feel the tension suffocating them. Eventually, the conversation turns to the one place none of them want to think about: Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Charlie's father was the man who actually owned the restaurant. To most kids, it was a paradise of bright lights and arcade sounds. But Charlie remembers the dark corners. She remembers the massive, adult-sized animatronic mascots. Sometimes they moved stiffly, like regular robots. But other times, they moved with unnervingly fluid, almost human movements. As they sit in the diner, the memories flood back. Charlie remembers the exact day Michael was taken. The animals on stage started to go completely haywire, twitching and glitching in a bizarre, frightening display. And the main mascot, a giant yellow bear, was just standing there. Its eyes are burned into Charlie's memory. They were completely dead. Dull and flat. Then, Carlton drops a piece of information that makes the crimson liquid drain from Charlie's face. Freddy's wasn't completely destroyed. After the tragedy, nobody wanted to lease the building. So, the town tried to bury their sins. They built a massive, sprawling shopping mall directly over the old pizzeria, completely entombing it. But the mall never opened. The franchise owners who tried to set up shop there immediately broke their contracts and fled. They all said the same thing: it just didn't feel right. It was as if a dark, mystical energy had spilled over from the sealed-up restaurant into the rest of the building. Freddy's was still down there, waiting in the dark. They couldn't just leave it alone. That night, under the cover of a pale moon, the group drives out to the edge of town. They park far away, keeping their headlights off to avoid drawing attention. The abandoned mall looms in the darkness like a massive concrete tomb. They creep around the perimeter, their footsteps echoing softly against the cracked asphalt, until they find a narrow, hidden corridor leading to the back of the structure. At the very end of the alleyway, hidden from the main road, sits a single, heavy metal door. Charlie steps forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. She reaches out and wraps her trembling fingers around the cold, rusted handle. "It's not going to open," someone whispers nervously from the shadows behind her. Charlie doesn't reply. She just pulls. With a violent, shrieking groan of metal, the rusty hinges give way, and the door swings open, revealing a pitch-black abyss leading straight down into the belly of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They stepped over the threshold, their flashlights cutting through thick, suffocating darkness. The air inside was completely stagnant, frozen exactly as it had been left 10 years ago. But as they moved deeper into the main dining area, they realized something terrifying. The restaurant wasn't entirely dead. A low, electrical hum vibrated through the floorboards. The power was still on. And worse, as they shined their flashlights into the corners of the room, the security cameras were still live. They stepped over the threshold, their flashlights cutting through thick, suffocating darkness. The air inside was completely stagnant, frozen exactly as it had been left 10 years ago. But as they moved deeper into the main dining area, they realized something terrifying. The restaurant wasn't entirely dead. A low, electrical hum vibrated through the floorboards. The power was still on. And worse. As they shined their flashlights into the corners of the room, the security cameras were still live.
Everything is okay. Let's go back to sleep.
They needed to find the surveillance room, and the only place it could be was hidden behind Pirate's Cove. But as they took a step toward the main stage, a heavy, metallic scrape echoed through the silent pizzeria. And as they stared into that suffocating darkness, they realized they weren't the only ones inside.